Hello, once again, and thank you for tuning in to the Pinnacle webinar series. This is episode 36, navigating the what I call messy middle. I'm Dr. Greg Green, sometimes referred to as retirement transition architect. So, welcome back again. If you're tuning in today, chances are that you've spent the last 20, 30, or 40 years masterfully executing a plan. You knew how to climb the ladder, how to hit the numbers, how to manage the crises, and exactly who you were when you walked into the room. But then the major career chapter ends. The business is sold, the retirement party is over, or final transitional paperwork is signed. And suddenly you find yourself here in what psychologists call the liminal space, but what I like to call is the messy middle. It's that deeply uncomfortable phase where you have left the structure, certainty of your past, but you haven't yet fully landed in the purpose of your future. For a high achiever, this is often the most jarring psychological experience of their life. Why? Because you are suddenly a beginner at a time in your life when you expected to be the ultimate master. So today we're going to dismantle why this friction happens and more importantly, how to navigate it without retreating backwards. So there's three stages of transition. To survive the messy middle, you first have to understand the anatomy of a transition. Celebrated sociologist William Bridges noted that change is situational. It's the new house, the new calendar, the empty office. But transition, that's psychological. It's the internal flip you have to make. And it happens in three distinct phases. Phase one is the ending. This isn't just a calendar date, it's an emotional letting go. You have to actively mourn the loss of your old identity, your daily routine, and the immediate relevance you had in your industry. If you don't properly acknowledge the ending, you carry the ghost of your old job into your new life. Phase two is the neutral zone, the void. This is the core of the messy middle. It's the empty calendar. It's the silence when the phone stops ringing with urgent problems to fix. It feels like wasted time. For someone wired for high productivity, this phase feels dangerous. It triggers an instinct to rush out and start doing things just to feel useful again. And then you have phase three is the new beginning. This is where clarity emerges, new passions take root, and a reimagined legacy begins to form. The mistake most leaders make, they try to jump straight from phase one to phase three. They want to skip the void entirely. But the magic and the design of your next true pinnacle actually requires you to sit in the uncomfortable quiet of the middle. There are two core frictions. Let's call out the biggest points of friction you will experience during the middle phase. First is the internal friction. That's the beginner's paradox. As a high achiever, you are biologically wired to love the dopamine hit of competence. You're used to being the person with the answers, but in the messy middle, you might try a new hobby, look into a completely different industry, or try writing a book and realize you aren't so great at this on day one. That creates massive internal friction. Your ego screams at you to go back to what you know, even if you've outgrown it, just to feel competent again. Normalize being a beginner. It's not a step backwards, it's a cognitive expansion. Second, that's relational friction, the roommate reality. If you are married or have a long time partner, the messy middle doesn't just affect you, it entirely upends the ecosystem of your home. For decades, you and your spouse, you had a rhythm built on distance and distinct domains. Suddenly you're home all day, pacing the floors looking for a project, or trying to manage the household like it's a corporate division. Your partner's looking at you thinking, I love you, but I didn't marry you for lunch every single day. This friction happens because boundaries haven't been renegotiated. You have to commit and communicate clearly that you're in a temporary exploration phase rather than accidentally micromanaging the people around you because you lack an outlet for your executive energy. Part three, protocols to navigate the middle. So, how do we navigate this without driving ourselves or our spouse completely crazy? Here are three concrete protocols. Protect the void, microdoses of boredom. Resist the urge to say yes to every board seat, consulting gig, or investment opportunity that flies your way in the first 6 months. If you fill your calendar immediately, you are just duplicating your old life under a different name. Give yourself permission to have blank space. Clarity only visits an open calendar. Number two, lower the stakes. Run low risk experiments. Don't try to build your next empire on day one of retirement. Instead, run what I like to call micro experiments. Want to get into a nonprofit work? Well, don't join the board yet. Volunteer for a weekend. Want to write? Well, write a 500-word article, not a 300-page manuscript. Test things with zero pressure to succeed. And then number three, adopt a 90-day horizon. When you don't have a corporate 5-year plan, thinking about your next 20 years of your life can feel paralyzing. Shrink your horizon. Ask yourself, what do I want to explore, learn, or experience just for the next 90 days? At the end of those 90 days, you check the dashboard, reassess, and design the next block. It gives you structure without trapping you. Conclusion and call to action. The messy middle, it isn't a sign of, transition is failing. It's a sign that it is actually working. The friction you feel is the sound of your old identity making room for a far more intentional, deeply aligned version of yourself. You earned your success by being a master of execution. You will build your legacy by mastering the art of transition. If you're currently sitting in that quiet space wondering what the blueprint looks like to turn this friction to focus, that is exactly why we built the Pinnacle Reinvention Framework. Thank you for tuning in today. Stop trying to rush through the middle. Take a breath, embrace the beginner's mind, and I will see you in the next episode.